The Santa Monica Pier was alive with its usual magic, children laughing near the carousel, seagulls swooping for fallen snacks, and tourists stopping to enjoy the ocean breeze. Among the lively noise, a familiar melody floated through the air. Karolina Protsenko, with her golden curls and ever-bright smile, had just begun tuning her violin. Her gentle notes drifted across the walkway, inviting people to gather around her, just as they always did. But this afternoon, someone unusual was watching. A tiny girl, no more than 4 years old, stood half-hidden behind a tall lamppost. Her name was Mila. Her dress, once pink, had faded to a soft dusty rose, and the fabric had tiny tears at the hem. Her hair was tied in a crooked ponytail by a worn-out blue ribbon. She clutched a small teddy bear whose fur was thinned from too much love. Mila wasn't like the other children running around with ice cream or new toys. She had come to the pier with her mother, who was quietly selling handmade bracelets nearby. Mila was used to watching other kids sing, dance, and play, wishing she could join them. But she had no toys, no microphone, and no stage. What she did have was a voice. As Karolina began softly playing, "Goodness of God," Mila's lips moved instinctively. She knew every word, having heard her mother hum it while working late at night. She whispered the lyrics into her teddy bear's ear, hoping no one would notice. But Karolina noticed. Her eyes landed on the shy little girl hiding behind the post. Instead of ignoring her, she smiled, a warm, inviting smile that made Mila's heart skip. "Do you like music?" Karolina asked gently. Mila nodded, her cheeks turning pink. "Would you like to sing with me?" The world froze. Mila's heart pounded. She had never been asked something so big, so beautiful. Slowly, timidly, she stepped forward, barefoot, hopeful, and holding a dream bigger than her tiny frame. Karolina lifted her violin gracefully, giving Mila a reassuring nod. The crowd, curious and touched by the scene unfolding, fell into a hush. A few people leaned in, phones ready but hearts unsure of what to expect from a shy 4-year-old. Mila stood trembling, her small fingers squeezing her teddy bear so tightly its head tilted sideways. But she kept her eyes on Karolina, drawing courage from the violinist's warm, steady presence. The first gentle chords of "Goodness of God" flowed from Karolina's strings like a soft breeze. Mila took a tiny breath. Then another. Her chest rose and fell as she felt the melody wrap around her like a blanket. And with a final squeeze of her bear, she opened her mouth. What came out didn't sound like a child just learning to speak in full sentences. It sounded like purity. Soft, airy, angelic. The crowd collectively gasped. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was incredibly clear, like crystal touched by sunlight. Each word trembled with innocence, yet carried a depth far too great for someone so young. A woman near the front pressed her hand to her chest, tears welling instantly. A man stopped recording because his hand shook too much. Mila sang gently, her voice blending with the violin as if heaven itself had joined the performance. The way she pronounced each lyric, soft, careful, filled with sincerity, made the song feel new, as though written for her tiny heart alone. Karolina watched her with awe. She had performed with many people, children and adults alike, but never had she seen a child so little sing with such emotional truth. Every note Mila sang tugged at the soul. More people stopped to listen, forming a silent circle around her. The pier's usual noise faded, replaced by the unexpected beauty of a small girl singing her heart into the world. As Mila reached the middle of the song, her small voice carried a tenderness that wrapped around every listener like a warm embrace. She sang, "Your goodness is running after me," with a softness that felt almost sacred, and for the first time, her voice wavered, not from fear, but from emotion deeper than her age could ever explain. Karolina, sensing the little girl's trembling, bent slightly and played closer to her, the violin's sound becoming a supportive cushion for Mila's fragile notes. She gently placed a hand on Mila's back, giving her a silent message: "You're not alone. Keep going." The crowd stood still. People who had only planned to stop for a moment now found themselves captured, emotionally anchored to this child's voice. A teenage girl in a denim jacket wiped her eyes, whispering, "She sounds like an angel." A father holding his baby gently rocked side to side, feeling the lyrics sink into his chest. When Mila hit the next line, "All my life you have been faithful," her voice cracked. It wasn't a mistake, it was raw honesty. Something in that tiny crack made the entire audience break. Tears flowed openly. Some covered their mouths. Some bowed their heads. Others whispered prayers. One elderly woman stepped forward, tears spilling down her cheeks as she pressed a shaking hand to her heart. Bless her, she whispered. Bless this child. Even the wind seemed to soften, brushing Mila's hair off her face as she finished the final chorus. Her innocence, her sincerity, her courage, all of it reached into places people often forget to feel. When the last note faded, the crowd didn't move. They didn't clap yet. They simply stood in reverent silence, as if they had just witnessed something divine. And then, suddenly, applause erupted, loud and emotional, lifting Mila into a moment she would never forget. After the applause erupted, loud, emotional, and overflowing with love, Mila stepped back in surprise. She had never heard clapping meant for her before. Her tiny hands trembled as she hugged her teddy bear tighter, unsure of what to do next. Her eyes searched for her mother in the crowd, and when she found her, the woman stood frozen, one hand covering her mouth, tears falling freely. Karolina knelt beside Mila, gently brushing a loose strand of hair from her face. You did beautifully, she whispered, her voice warm and full of pride. You have a gift, Mila. A very special one. The crowd was already moving closer, not to overwhelm her, but to give. A man in a business suit stepped forward and placed a folded bill into the teddy bear's little pouch. For her future, he said softly. Then a young woman added a handful of coins. Another placed a crumpled $20 bill. A grandmother removed her tiny gold bracelet and slipped it into Mila's hand. For luck, sweetheart, she whispered. It was as if the song had opened everyone's hearts. Soon, people formed a gentle line, each wanting to help in some small way. Mila looked overwhelmed, unsure why strangers were being so kind. Karolina stood protectively beside her, guiding each gesture with gratitude. Mila's mother slowly approached, wiping her cheeks, embarrassed yet deeply moved. I don't know how to thank you, she whispered. Karolina took the small envelope that the audience had filled and placed it carefully into the mother's hands. This isn't from me, she said. It's from everyone your daughter touched today. The mother broke down, covering her face as she cried silently. Mila wrapped her tiny arms around her mother's waist. The crowd clapped again, softer this time, clapping not just for a performance, but for kindness, humanity, and the miracle of a little girl's voice. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the sky glowed orange and purple, Mila and her mother walked home. Hand in hand, her mother carried the small envelope the crowd had filled, holding it as if it were something fragile and sacred. Mila skipped beside her, still humming, "Goodness of God," her voice light and carefree after such a big day. Their home was small, just one room with 2 mattresses, a table, and a single flickering lamp. But tonight, it felt different. It felt warm, hopeful, almost magical. Mila sat cross-legged on her mattress and carefully emptied the little teddy bear pouch. Coins clinked onto the blanket. Dollar bills unfolded like tiny blessings. She giggled as she touched each one. Mama, look, so many people were nice today. Her mother sat beside her, overwhelmed by the kindness of strangers. Tears streamed down her cheeks, not sad tears, but tears of gratitude. She pulled Mila into her arms and whispered, God used your voice today, my love. You touched people, and they touched our lives too. Mila hugged her teddy bear and rested her head against her mother's shoulder. After a quiet moment, she whispered, Mama, can I sing again tomorrow? I want more people to feel happy. Her mother nodded, stroking her hair gently. Yes, baby, you can sing whenever your heart wants. Meanwhile, miles away, Karolina Protsenko sat on her bed, editing the video of their duet. She added a caption from her heart. Meet Mila, a 4-year-old angel who reminded us what true goodness sounds like. She clicked upload. Within hours, the video spread like wildfire. Notifications exploded. Comments poured in. People from around the world shared it, cried to it, prayed because of it. And without even knowing it, little Mila, barefoot, poor, but overflowing with pure light, had begun a new chapter. Her voice was no longer just heard on a pier. It was touching the world.